What is up, and welcome to DLF's YouTube channel. We've got our start sit on Sunday morning. It's week 2. And believe it or not, in week 2, the same thing as week 1 doesn't happen exactly the same way. So we are here to break down exactly what we think is going to happen. Me and Jeff are going to talk about it. Corey's going to accurately predict the future for everybody. That's his job.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, that's what we're here for, is me to accurately predict the future. I got my little ball going here, and let's do it.
And Jeff is going to accurately tell us what's going on with all these injuries. Corey is keeping an eye on the inactives, and we can talk about some of that too. Jeff, let's start with this because obviously we got news about Josh Jacobs with his toe injury. We're a dynasty channel. Let's just talk about where you think he is in terms of his toe. I know last week we talked a little bit. You were worried about turf toe. What do you know about Josh Jacobs and his injury right now?
Yeah, so he came into the game with a turf toe injury, and he was already a little bit banged up, and he did suffer an ankle injury in game. And you could, if you were watching the game, you could visibly see he was in a lot of pain. So Gruden has talked all offseason of trying to keep him healthy, trying to keep him fresh for the whole season. So with this new injury, I wouldn't be – he's out this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses another week just to get him fully healthy. And then I'm really curious to see his overall workload. I think he only had, 10 rushes for 40 yards, but he was saved with the 2 touchdowns. So he's going to be a volatile fantasy pick for the rest of the year, in my opinion.
You think it's going to linger for the whole year?
Well, these turf toe injuries can. The ankle injury, I think he'll recover from, but more so his fantasy usage, his overall usage in the game, especially if they're hyping up Peyton Barber. I'm not playing Peyton Barber this week against Pittsburgh. He's a plotter. If anyone, I kind of like Kenyon Drake as the flex play, just from a PPR standpoint. But this backfield could turn into a committee if Jacobs' injuries linger.
I think if I had to pick one, it's going to be Kenyon Drake. Corey, is it Peyton Barber season, or are you on the same page?
Well, that's like he said, he's a plotter. So if you want the 10 carries, 20 yards, maybe you're hoping for the 2 touchdowns. Gruden came out and said he was going to be the lead guy, right?
That's what he said.
Still can't trust him. It is Pittsburgh. Shout out to TJ Watt in the extension. He got the bag. So like Jeff was saying, you got to go with Drake especially for PPR.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then obviously, we got the news that Will Fuller is out. We don't want to speculate really about what's going on with him, but we do know that he's out, which means Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams possibly expected to play. I guess we can check on any recent updates on that. But both those players have some history with injuries too, Jeff. I mean, are you pretty comfortable playing those guys?
Yeah, I'm not trusting Preston Williams really at all. Unless I see him perform this year, I'm not trusting him at all. He's been banged up for the last 2 years. Waddle, I think this is a huge uptick for Waddle. And this is, like you said, we're not going to speculate the reason why, but Fuller, Brian Flores said, we're not sure when he'll be back. Mm-hmm. Not sure if it's going to be this year, So this could be a huge uptick for Jalen Waddle.
Yep. We got some Saints fans in the chat. Sorry, everybody else. But yeah, who dat? Let's go. Another week 2. Hopefully a good game against Carolina today. But yeah, Odell Beckham, another one that's out, still on his ACL recovery timeline. He was a little bit behind. His injury was later than Cortland Sutton's and Saquon Barkley's. We've seen them be ineffective still in playing. Is it okay that Odell's playing it safe here, Jeff? Is that the right move, I guess, in terms of where he is?
Yeah, given his age, given prior injuries that he's suffered, he's had a good amount of hamstring injuries as well, and we know that soft tissue injuries coming off ACLs are an issue. So they're playing it safe. It's kind of interesting because out of all the guys who tore their ACL, based on the recovery that I was tracking over the offseason, I thought OBJ would be the one guy who, he looks like he's going to be ready week 1. So he's a guy who, he's out today. Even if he's active next week, he's a wait and see for me. I want to see how he plays. I want to see how he handles contact, cutting, all of that. This is a huge uptick for Jarvis Landry. We already knew that. I don't know if I'm banking on Anthony Schwartz, even in DFS. He popped up with a knee sprain. And with his skill set, that could limit him this week, even though it's against Houston. If anybody, I kind of like DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I don't know if I want to pick him either.
Yeah, I can see them getting those tight ends involved and not necessarily pushing things. I mean, look, Houston came out with a lot more fight than they had than we thought last week, right? But that offensive line, maybe Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt get a lot of work in this game. I can definitely see that. Anthony Schwartz was surprising though. Like I don't know if you had any thoughts on him. Like I was not expecting him to come in and immediately out target Peoples-Jones and somebody, some of those other younger guys in the Cleveland wide receiver core.
Does he remind you, like Schwartz remind you a little bit of Darnell Mooney? Little vibes out there.
Let's go.
Yeah, speedster.
I like that.
Thank you.
All right.
Very nice.
Lions, man, they came pretty close at the very end there against your 49ers, Jeff.
We're talking about injury,
though. Groin strain. Yeah, groin strain there. Like, are you've got him listed here as a start, so you're not worried about DeAndre Swift?
I'm not. He finished the game. He didn't have any setbacks in game. I know this can be a tough call given he plays Monday night. But Deuce Staley has already said no. This week he's in a great spot for his groin injury. He's looking good. He's on track to play. He's not concerned. So him saying that, I know we have to be careful with the coach speak, but I'm not concerned. If he had suffered a setback in week 1, then I'd be concerned.
Didn't he have like the same practice trajectory last week? He was like limited like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, got a full. And then I think he had the same thing with Jamal Williams this week, but Williams was not on the injury report. And we saw what happened last week. What were they both? RB 3 and 4, 2 and 4 on the week. So PPR shout out.
Yeah, both top 5 running backs. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see this week. I mean, the Saints certainly did some things on the ground with Alvin Kamara and Tony Jones looking pretty good. So that looked like a really good 1-2 punch when I went back and watched that Detroit-San Francisco game again with the dump offs from Goff, things like that. I think if I've got Jamal Williams, I might be finding a way to get him into my lineup because I like what I saw out of him. Michael Pittman, he's got an ankle sprain. He's questionable, but active. Jeff, you don't seem quite as excited to get him into your lineup.
No, not. He was downgraded on Friday with a new ankle sprain. He is active. Paris Campbell is not. Paris Campbell is inactive. But I just, anytime someone suffers an injury Friday, Saturday, those late weeks, I downgrade. And honestly, if he was healthy against the Rams, I don't know if Ramsey is going to be on Pittman, but I just seeing how Wentz was playing, how little he was throwing to the wide receivers, I don't think he's fantasy viable until we see it.
Go ahead.
Can we bring it back to the lines real quick? Isn't Tyrell Williams inactive too?
Yeah.
Correct.
So wouldn't that mean then Swift and Williams, they got to get an uptick, maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown too? Hawkinson, obviously, let's be honest.
I thought Amon-Ra played really good last week. Like when I went back and watched it, Jared Goff was so bad, guys. Like I cannot believe how bad he was. The only time he started looking good was when San Francisco started just sending 3 or 4. Like they weren't sending a lot of pressure there in the late 3rd, early 4th. And all of a sudden he started being able to hit his receivers. But until then, when he had any kind of pressure, the pocket was collapsing on it. It was ugly. And as much as I love Amon-Ra and I thought he looked good, I don't know that I'm trusting very many pieces of that team. I guess Hawk, Swift, and Jamal would probably be the only ones at this point. Let's go to.
How do you say it? I don't trust Goff yeeting it down the field.
He was there were times where he would like be a targeted receiver, just like 15 feet away from him, like nowhere close. Like he could unintentionally get some intentional groundings this year just from being bad. Okay, Marquis Brown, I thought also looked pretty good last week. Usable in that offense. Ankle sprain, though, you don't like to hear that with somebody like him, Jeff.
Yeah, with his skill set, I think he's going to be a fine flex play. Kansas City's a tough defense, but yeah, I think he's going to be a fine flex play. This is more so going to be a Sammy Watkins revenge game, I believe. Not a lot of people have talked about it because it's Sammy Watkins week 1 and then he's dead,
Right.
But yeah, Marquis Brown does carry some injury risk going into the game, but I do think he's going to be an okay flex play for you if you have to rely on him.
Yeah, I like that. Hoping for a bounce back from Mark Andrews as well. Go ahead, Corey. What you got?
Well, for Hollywood, all you need is one big play, and all of a sudden you get 11 points. So if you could hopefully work for that, and then Watkins getting 8 targets in the first game is pretty neat. So hopefully the revenge game here, and he's got to step up.
Yeah.
Jeff, you were one of the few people talking about Darnell Mooney last week with the back injury and telling people to sit him. It's been an extra week now, a little bit of extra time with that back. What do you think now?
Yeah, no setbacks from week 1. I think he's going to be a safer play this week. A little better matchup as well against Cincinnati. I believe Trey Waynes is out as well. So I've gotten some crazy questions about if they should sit Allen Robinson or not. Don't do that.
Why? Oh, yeah, I thought you meant the Bears. I was like, why would the Bears sit Allen Robinson?
No.
Then I'm like, oh yeah, wait, we're on a start-sit show. Okay. That makes more sense.
But yeah, Mooney, from an injury perspective, I think this is a better week to play him.
How do you feel? Mooney had the back injury, but he played 100% of snaps in week 1. Like, is that smart from the Bears standpoint in week 1? Like, or you just play your guys, if they're good enough to play them.
Yeah, you play your guys, and then if he has any issues in game, I had some intel that he was fine. The week prior he could barely stand up, so it's just a little risky. But he didn't have any setbacks in game, so
that's crazy.
That can still, if anyone has dealt with a back injury, it's difficult to twist, it's difficult to move around. So think about playing a game. Yeah, the fact that he played 100% of the snaps, that's great sign.
Gabe Davis is another one that I think we were pretty excited about. He did score last week, which was great. Don't love the numbers behind the numbers, but he also came up as questionable with an ankle injury. Does that make him just a little bit too risky to start here, Jeff?
Yeah, he is active, but kind of like Hollywood Brown. I like Hollywood Brown as a play much better than Gabriel Davis, because Gabriel Davis to me is more touchdown dependent, and you never know. You just don't know if they're going to use him at the same amount of snaps as they did last week. You never know if he has a re-injury in game. He just doesn't have the volume for me to risk that play.
And we got a note here about Jameson Crowder. Obviously, I believe did see he is inactive, right? Is this an injury that's lingering much longer than you expected? Is that something, if we do have Crowder, to be worried about?
No, so he was on the COVID list week 1, and so he was out for week 1, and I believe he suffered the groin strain on Thursday in practice.
Oh, okay.
So everything I had read said they're expecting Crowder to play, they're expecting him to be active, but yeah, I guess he must have been going through pregame warmups, and they didn't like what they saw. So the good news is for the Jets, Keelan Cole is active. Denzel Mims is inactive. Not that you're going to play him in fantasy, but we'll look for. I'll be watching Crowder's status over the next week.
Jeff, Rashad Penny is a name that has probably come up a million times for you. Unfortunately, first round pick that with a ton of talent, but looks like he's doubtful, calf injury, going to be down a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he had entered week 1 having suffered a calf strain, I think a couple weeks prior in camp, and then he re-injured it in week 1. So this is probably going to be. I'm kind of surprised they haven't put him on IR. I expect it to be a 2 to 3 week absence at least. I was looking at the usage. I think mostly this is just an uptick for Chris Carson. He suffered the re-injury early in week 1. And they didn't really use DJ Dallas much. They didn't use Travis Homer much. I expect Alex Collins to be active, but really they didn't seem to use their running back too much.
Yeah, something to watch for behind Chris Carson there to see how those carries get split up. I've had some interest in Alex Collins and stashing him. I have him in a couple of leagues. We'll see how that plays out today. Zach Ertz, though, over in Philadelphia, hamstring injury. Looks like he's off the injury report, though, and expected to play. Are you firing him up if you got him, Jeff?
Ertz, absolutely not.
Nope. No, we're not.
Yeah. A guy, if anything, this for me is a big uptick for Dallas Goedert, just given, Ertz carries a higher injury risk, re-injury risk going into the game.
1 second. Let me go take him out my lineup.
Make sure you pick all your lineups.
1 second.
Yeah, honestly, did you see that catch that Dallas Goedert made against the Falcons in the end zone? He's got some athleticism. He could be really good. I hope he gets targets. I know you hope it doesn't happen today, Jeff, but
I don't care. As long as the Niners win, I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, is that your team?
Yeah.
Nope.
So, okay, this next one over the offseason, I spent a lot of time talking about Jordan Akins, only to find out that, oh, no, Farrell Brown is who I meant. It was autocorrect. It was a weird autocorrect from Akins to Farrell Brown. But ankle shoulder injury, he's questionable, but still expected to play. Do you think that was more of just the Jaguars? Do you think that was just one of those things where he got a bunch of targets because of how weird that game was?
Yeah, honestly, I rewatched that game, and I'm not entirely sure how to predict Farrell Brown. He's an intriguing, very cheap DFS play this week against Cleveland. Houston's offense could look totally different from what we saw last week, just given the Jacksonville defense was so bad.
Maybe Farrell Brown was the first person to approach Tyrod Taylor and become friends with him.
Maybe.
In the tight end group.
Maybe.
Brandon Cooks is killing it. I don't know, Brown. I didn't watch the game, so all I could see is 5 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards for Brown, and 2 targets for Akins. Is Akins a blocker?
No, it's the opposite, and I think unfortunately Farrell Brown is just on the field a lot more right now. Akins, we'll see, but
not Akins.
And honestly, Farrell Brown, I saw something from PFF. Since I think it was week 11, week 12 of last year, he's like top 5 in several metrics for tight end. Obviously, that doesn't always translate to fantasy upside, right? But yeah, if you watch him play, he's a tank. He's kind of like a less athletic Johnny Smith.
Where was he before? Why was he so held back?
He was
Houston last year.
I was thinking like Mercedes Lewis.
I think this is a revenge game too. I want to say he was on Cleveland at some point.
We love these revenge games.
Here we go. Yeah.
It is
Mercedes Lewis is the guy that he kind of reminds me of to a degree, just like a guy that gets after it as a blocker, really good tight end, not necessarily always super fantasy relevant, but
does more for the NFL team than the fantasy.
Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe there's more in the tank there. I'd love to see it.
Cleveland, Carolina, Buffalo. He's got a good little stretch here.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so the defensive side also matters when we're thinking about our fantasy teams, not because of IDP, but also because if Marshawn Lattimore is not playing, that could mean good things for DJ Moore, right?
And he is inactive, as well as oh my gosh, who's your guys' safety? CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Oh wow!
Surprise!
Juan Alexander is also inactive.
Oh, dude, fire him up. Terrace Marshall, baby.
I saw that
DJ Moore.
Quan Alexander coming back off of that Achilles injury. Is that a little bit worrying right there, Jeff?
No, he's actually looks great from a mobility standpoint. He doesn't look like himself, but that's to be expected at least till maybe mid-season. He kind of carries the Emmanuel Sanders trajectory. I think it was 2019. But he suffered an elbow injury, so it was a new injury.
Who was this? I missed it.
Quan Alexander.
I hate to see it on the defense side. That's right.
Corey, that probably does mean good things for Carolina's receiving options, huh?
It has to, right? We got DJ. Do we know if DJ Moore spent most of the time in the slot last week? Because
I didn't see that.
He had an interesting role.
Me either. But yeah, we got Robbie Anderson, who had the nice deep catch. I mean, if the Saints are missing parts of each part of the defense, it's only going to open up the holes, especially when you have Christian McCaffrey coming out the backfield. And, he got the 20-plus touches for fantasy-wise. He doesn't need touchdowns to be fantasy relevant. But if DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and if Terrace Marshall is going to get involved more, it's just going to be a nightmare against the Saints, especially if the Saints and then Winston's throwing touchdowns. Hopefully he gets more than 20 passing attempts. But I mean, if he's going to be efficient, shout out to LASIK. Guess we'll have to see.
Shout out LASIK.
So you're saying to start DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Robbie Anderson?
I mean, I feel like in places where I've got DJ Moore, I definitely am. I will say, Marshawn Lattimore did not play a lot last week either, and it didn't necessarily help the Green Bay offense very much. There are a lot of good players. Paulson Adebo is a young rookie that looked really good. Spent some time covering Devonta Adams last week too. So yeah, definitely interesting there. Another defensive injury you were looking at is Carlton Davis, right?
Yeah, real quick so DJ Moore played only 5 snaps in the slot. Terrace Marshall spent 81.8%, I think, of his snaps in the slot. And he had, I couldn't find it, but he had a decent amount of red zone targets. So I'd be tempted to fire up Terrace Marshall in the flex.
I mean, you know how it was Joe Brady with the LSU. Like Marshall, he was second on the team, third on the team behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But Marshall had like 14 touchdowns with like 60 receptions. So it was just great to see Marshall pair back up with Joe Brady. He had to be the red zone threat because Moore and Anderson aren't that, and I guess CMC probably is, right? But they don't have a tight end, so you got to hope for a touchdown in fantasy. That's all you need to make your week swing.
Very true.
Darnold to Darnold.
And Darnold. Darnold targeted the slot Jameson Crowder, to bring him back, and the Jets. And I think it was like 8.5 targets per game. And I think Crowder averaged like 12.5 fantasy points per game in those 2 years or so. So if Marshall's going to be taking on that role, that's just really great to see.
I did see Paris Campbell is officially inactive. Zach Pascal had a nice day last week. That might be a guy to think about in your lineup. Jeff, any other injuries that you want to talk about here? I know it's getting close to time where you need to bounce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one you asked about, Carlton Davis, it looks like he's active on the defensive end. He does carry some injury risk, just coming off the hamstring strain. Corey, did you?
Yeah, I got one. What about Jonnu Smith? Before you go,
he is active.
How is it looking? Should we trust them just because they're active?
He came down with a hip strain or hip injury. I think Thursday in practice. I don't know if I'm going to trust him this week. If you're down to James O'Shaughnessy, Pharaoh Brown, or Jonnu Smith, I mean, I think you
go Jonnu.
Go Pharaoh Brown.
No, I was just joking. I don't know.
Oh, that's
I don't know. That's interesting.
Dude,
yeah.
Someone's got to be the second receiving option there.
And Tyrod Taylor really does like his tight ends. That's why I was on Jordan Akins, because I thought, and he was the leading, tight end receiver last year. And I thought, okay, yeah, but with Pharaoh Brown getting the start and being out there running a bunch of routes, even in a game where you would expected them with their lead, they could have been running the ball more. But man, I was impressed with what I saw from the Texans when I watched it back. Again, how much of that is Jacksonville? We'll find out more today.
Probably a lot.
But yeah, Jeff, appreciate all your insight there. Any last words? Anything that people can go check out of yours?
No, yeah, the injury report for week 2 will publish on Wednesday on DLF. So just take a look at that after the week. I post, if you look at my Twitter, JM Thrive PT, I'll repost some injuries as they occur in game. Outside of that, it's fun hanging out with you guys. Good to see Corey. Good to see Cal.
Yep. For those of you watching, we are going to continue on with some start sit. So if you're watching this and you have any start sit questions, go ahead and put those into the chat and we will talk about them. I got a couple from Twitter that I'm going to toss in, and some in just some thoughts here from Noah in the chat already. Thoughts about Jalen Hurts going forward. Corey, he was impressive in week 1. Is that a mirage, or are you expecting big things out of Mr. Jalen Hurts?
Well, I mean, if we're talking fantasy, you got to, 62 yards on the ground, 7 attempts. He fumbled, but didn't lose it. They did go up against the Falcons, so 3 touchdowns, but he looked good. It's the Konami quarterback all over. Going forward, we got San Francisco, Dallas, Kansas City, Carolina, Tampa Bay, so it's an interesting stretch. They got a couple games, but if we're going to look at shootouts, Dallas, Kansas City, you just got to trust a running quarterback. If he's getting 62 yards a game, that's 6 fantasy points just right there. And if your league has any, first down bonuses or any of that, that's just additional stuff. So if he's going to continue to throw the ball like he was doing, get the touchdowns, I mean, like, what more do you need?
I think it was a very positive week one. I love the way that Nick Sirianni and the offense started just trying to get the ball out of his hands and into the hands of his playmakers. And he's got people with some speed that can absolutely do great things there. I love that.
I love Sirianni, dude. The way a coach just does his job to scheme to his talent that he has with, Rager, Watkins, if he's going to get more. I think Watkins had 3 targets in the first couple minutes, and then that's all he had moving forward. But I mean, you got Gainwell, Sanders, the 2 tight ends. If Ertz is limited, maybe Arcega Whiteside comes up. Is he even playing these days? I don't know. Yeah, you got it. I mean, dude, Hurts QB1.
And especially, I mean, this note from Adam Schefter this morning that that veteran cornerback Josh Norman, who signed with the 49ers 2 weeks ago, is going to start today against Philadelphia.
Good.
I'm pretty sure, I think I saw a tweet, I don't know who it was, but that it wasn't necessarily that he signed with San Francisco. It's just that's where he landed after the Derrick Henry stiff arm from last year. But yeah, that's not good news. And like I said, rewatching that 49ers game in Detroit, they had some open receivers. It'll be interesting to see if that secondary can hold it together and how Jalen Hurts can take advantage of it.
Was I dreaming of this? Did Dre Greenlaw, their linebacker, get put on IR too?
I can look that up. I'm not
Regardless,
sure.
But he's a zone guy. I don't know if he had much hype last year, but yeah, dude. I mean, going against San Francisco would be great. I mean, who did they play last week? The Bears.
Atlanta?
No, San Francisco.
Atlanta, San Francisco, Detroit.
And they only had 3 sacks on Goff. So I mean, Hurts is going to be mobile. Maybe that might bite him. Maybe he's going to be too mobile in the pocket. But I mean, if they only got 3 sacks, I mean, I guess Detroit has a pretty respectable offensive line. So now I'm just overthinking at this point.
Yeah. I think you'll see some really good things out of Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith and maybe Jalen Rager. Let's see.
Hey, as long as Sirianni's out there, start Rager and Gainwell.
Yeah, I love it.
PPR.
Noah, he comes back. He double dips, pick 3, PPR. We've got Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Antonio Brown. That's a tough pick 3 right there.
Yeah, I got to look up. Yeah. Yes, any of them? Flip a coin? Is that a thing? No, you can't. That's 2 guys. We need 3. Atlanta, it depends. Who's AJ Terrell going to cover? Is it going to be Evans? He got shut down by Trayvon Diggs in week 1. I need to know that. And if there's a way to know that would help. But AB, I mean, he's got Brady. So regardless, probably got to do AB. Deontay is probably good. And Jefferson, dude, these are 4. Yeah.
These are 4 really good ones.
Yeah. I don't know. Who do you like more? What's the matchups here? I don't know. Kupp. I mean, Kupp had that big game against the Bears when the closest person was the referee. And that probably accounted for 50 of his yards. So,
yep.
Indy's got a good defensive line. So I'm probably going to go Deontay Kupp or Deontay Jefferson AB.
Oh, man.
Should I leave the show now?
I have a hard time sitting Antonio Brown after what he did last week.
No, I started Antonio.
Yeah. No, I'm saying so.
Okay. Now you're talking.
For me, Jefferson and Deontay are the ones that I definitely want to get in my lineup. And it comes down to AB and Kupp. And then I just don't think I can sit AB after last week. I know you can't count last week's points for this week. I know you can't chase last week's points. But yeah, I think I'm sitting Kupp out of those 4, even though I wouldn't really want to. It wouldn't be a lot of fun.
I mean, Deontay, he got injured the game 1, but then he did come back. So that was cool. So I guess that's always something to notice about Deontay, but he had 10 targets, only caught 5 of them for 36 yards. So if you get more yards out of Deontay, he did get the touchdown. You're going to get more points because that's how, fantasy works, but he's at least getting the targets if he's playing the game.
Victor hops in, full PPR, Jarvis Landry or DJ Chark.
That's a great one. We kind of the uptick in Landry. I mean, Chark's going up against Denver. Does Chark get the rookie? What's his name? Pat Surtain or whatever. He had a bad week 1. Chark, I mean, 3 receptions, 86 yards. That's probably his role. Is if he gets the touchdown, the big gain, you're going to be happy. But Landry, the slot guy, OBJ's out. Jeff noted the knee sprain with Shorts. He went 5 for 5 for 71, and they're going up against Houston. I'm probably playing matchup right here and taking Jarvis Landry, especially in PPR. If he gets 5 receptions, 40 yards, I mean, that's 9. That's probably not good. 9 points.
I'm going Jarvis Landry, and part of it, honestly, is like Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good. So he's going to be very good. But he got outplayed by Tyrod Taylor in week 1. Like, I rewatched that game. He was not as sharp as Tyrod was, which is a crazy, crazy thing to say. But it's true.
Welcome to the NFL.
DJ Chark had 12 targets and caught 3 of them.
Isn't that insane?
3 of them. One of them was a deep play, the 86 yards. Most of it came on that. I think it was a 41-yard touchdown. So, a couple of, so there was some deep shots. Like, he definitely had that role. I don't think he's going to get, if he's only catching 3 out of 12, that's not good. That's got to go up, but I want to see it before I do. And I know Jarvis Landry is going to be involved in this game here against Houston. So
shout out Victor.
Our boy Troy. T King mode comes in. Happy PR. Tyson Williams, Hines, Mitchell. This one's so easy for me.
Oh, you go first.
I like Tyson Williams. I think is. There's no scenario you can say Tyson Williams and I'm gonna pick whatever's on the other side of the or.
Good.
All the time. He got the same amount of carries in the second half last week as Trenton Cannon, who was cut 45 minutes later. So I'm not starting Tyson Williams.
And you don't like seeing the coach saying this backfield. I mean, obviously it's true. His point, backfields aren't just one running back anymore, but the fact that you're alluding, the coach wanted to see what they had in the other running backs in the second half. So, I mean, Tyson, you saw that one rush that he had for 34 yards for the touchdown. He looked great, but I'm probably going, I mean, this is half PPR. So I'm going Elijah Mitchell because I'm a believer in him.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell is who I'm going with too. I stopped at Tyson Williams there, but yes, you know what? I do like Hines though. Like, I think Hines could have a really good game today. It's
half
just
PPR.
Yeah, it just half PPR makes me lean towards Mitchell because I think Mitchell is going to get more work on the ground.
Yep.
And look, Sermon. Obviously, he's going to be active. He's going to factor in to some degree. But watching last week, I'm telling you, if Elijah Mitchell has the game, if he hits the holes the same way he hit them last week, makes the same decisions that he made, he's not letting go of this job. Like, if he's ineffective, we need to start watching for that. But I just don't expect the same kind of Shanahanigans that people are expecting.
One thing to note about Mitchell is, though, he did make a couple mistakes. I'm blanking on who tweeted it out, but he ran back the all 22 and saw like where Mitchell made the wrong cut once or twice. So he did leave a couple yards on. I mean, dude, you're a 6th-round rookie coming out of Louisiana Lafayette. Like, luckily you did go up against Detroit, so you got some good confidence. So going up against Philly, it'll be a different test, but like you're saying, I mean, the dude proved it. 104 yards, a touchdown. Roll him out.
It will be. You know what's funny though is Cordell Patterson and Mike Davis had some really good holes and runs against Philadelphia, and I know that the final line didn't look as good because there were some adjustments they made in the second half. But I don't know that. I think we're giving Philadelphia a little bit too much credit because if you just watch the game in the first half, like there were holes there. I think Cordell Patterson had like 4 runs of 10 yards or something like that. Yeah, he's a kick returner. Okay. Elijah Mitchell's going to be better than that.
No, for sure. Shout out Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, Tyler, of course, dude. Always miss
What's up,
Tyler, the fantasy creator. Tony Rossman, full PPR, pick one, please. Juju, Hines, or Robbie Anderson. This is a tougher one. What do you think?
I'm happy we got a full PPR. I mean, I'm going with Hines. I'm sorry. Raiders. I don't know. Who knows against the Raiders? I think I'm going Hines still. You're guaranteed 6, 7, 8 targets. I think he had 8 and Jonathan Taylor had 9. So that was really cool to see. But now we're talking about this. So Hines, I mean, you're going to get at least 10 points just out of receptions. He'll see 5 to 10 carries. So that's just a bonus. Juju, 8 targets last week. You want to see more, especially when Deontay went out for a little bit. Robbie Anderson, 3 targets, 1 reception for that 51 yards. You don't like to see that because he wouldn't even be in the question if he didn't get that touchdown. So I'm going to roll with Hines. Probably a nice floor and ceiling involved.
Man, I was so surprised to see Robbie Anderson not more involved. Obviously, he led the team in targets last year, but then brought in his old quarterback, and the connection did not seem there to the degree that you would hope. And I definitely cooled on him after seeing what he posted in the first week. It's 1 week.
But it's probably like the Christian McCaffrey effect. Like CMC's back. Like there's a reason why the Panthers supported 3 wide receivers last year with Samuel, Anderson, and Moore, and it was because CMC was not there. And now you're going to see an offense with CMC and then Moore. There's the two more talented, assets. Get them the ball, and Teddy Bridgewater too. He's not there, so.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I'm watching for. CMC. I'm glad you brought him up. He had almost 100 yards on the ground in the air, but didn't get in the end zone. The Saints have a tough run defense. They're a tough defense. Now he can find a way to win no matter what. But if he has a, cool down type of a game, do you think a bye window could open up for him a little bit if he were to have it down this week?
CMC. I don't know. I was talking with someone. We're talking about CMC, right?
Yeah.
Before I go on this tangent, I was talking to someone about trading. I was talking with someone talking about trading Saquon Barkley. No one seems to be. It's not a buy low situation given his first 2 weeks coming back from the ACL in 9 months or something. It just seems with name brands like this, you're not going to have the option because people invested, depending Christian McCaffrey, at least the 1.01 you're in redraft, but in dynasty, it's a name brand. He's the best asset, regardless of Superflex or one quarterback leagues, depending on who you're talking to. It's the name brand effect. You're not going to be able to get him too low. Maybe there's a little dip, but it's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think
funny.
You said Hines right here, Tony, for Tony's question. And
yeah, I'm going to go Hines again. Just safe floor and a good ceiling. Juju. You just 8 targets. You want to see more, but maybe that was just going up against Buffalo, a little bit tougher defense. I don't know. They're going up against Las Vegas, so who knows what happens.
Tyler says, I don't hate Tyson Williams. I think his coaches don't like him near as much as Twitter does.
A second-year undrafted free agent.
25 years old, by the way. A year and a half older than Josh Jacobs is Tyson Williams. He's not some young unheard of guy.
But you're not going to put your faith into a undrafted free agent after 3 running backs ahead of him got put on the IR for season-ending injuries.
Yeah. Especially when the coaches aren't putting that kind of faith in him, right? That's the thing I'm looking for. They brought in every running back with a heartbeat. And then, everybody says he looked great. Okay, all the highlight plays were in the first half. It did not lead to more work for him. No, so the coaches made that decision. I have to interpret that and look at that and not just I saw a highlight where he looked really cool running into the end zone, right?
That's right. He did look cool though. It was good.
He did look cool. It was good. Good for him. Another question from Tony here. Full PPR, pick one, please. Jalen Reagor, Brandon Ayuk, or Marvin Jones.
I think this is an easy one, but I want to hear what you say.
So I'm not ready to trust Ayuk yet. I have been looking in dynasty leagues to go and acquire him because I think based on the responses I got to a thread asking about Ayuk trades, he was going for some crazy deals. This is a really good buy low opportunity for him. But I don't trust him this week. I'm not ready to start him. I'm not ready to put him in my lineup. I want to watch his snap counts. I want to see that go up. I don't even care as much about the targets this week as I care about, I want to see him get a bunch of snaps and get out there, get a bunch of work, because that's going to be a key for him. To me, I love Reagor. I think he's probably a more upside play because of San Francisco's defense. But Marvin Jones has been really good, and I think Marvin Jones has proven to be a trustworthy target for Trevor Lawrence. And when he seems like he's getting under pressure, it's like he's looking for the veteran, and I love that for that rookie quarterback. So for me, this would be Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones is good. He probably is their best receiver. I know we all love Shenault, but Shenault really isn't going to be utilized too much like Jones will. Sure, Shenault will get some, manufactured touches. I wanted to see a little more out of him, but you got to go with Marvin Jones here. And speaking back to Ayuk and how you said there's a buy window, I just love that people believed and bought into the Shanahan doghouse thing. And the next day he just comes out and says no, he's just, injured still. He had a little setback. So Still a little buy low window. He had 47% snaps, no targets in week 1, but you got to roll with Marvin Jones here.
Yeah. I 100% with you. Got to give our boy Houdat a shout out. This is Houdat. That's love that. Yeah, Tyler saying I don't hate him.
You're realistic.
I tell you what though, I begged people to trade him when he was going for a 2022 second right before week 1. I was like, please, it's the easiest call that's ever been in fantasy. Just go trade him. Yeah, Tyler hits it too. Buy low on Ayuk. Agree. I'm now on a believe when I see an approach with Ayuk. Yeah, I think it's good. He's just working his way back from an injury and back from, when you're injured and you've got other guys like Kyle Shanahan kept saying, like, these other guys came in. Trent Sherfield he was good. Like he was like making an impact on the field. So, I do want to ask you while we mentioned San Francisco a couple of times. I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about your article that you did on Shanahan, where you looked and broke down his backfield. That's right. Make sure, anybody watching this, go check out that article. It's a really good breakdown. Do you want to kind of give us a little bit of a sneak preview about what you found when you were digging through there?
Yeah. Okay. Putting me on the spot here. Okay. So basically, when you look at Kyle Shanahan, specifically with the San Francisco 49ers, a lot of people believe that he is an RBBC type coach. Every coach is, but many people believe that like you're not going to know who the guy is. But when you look into recently what has happened, he has the option to only really utilize who's available, healthy. Last year, they used 5 running backs. I think 5 different running backs led each week with a, total touches. So 5 different running backs are doing that. When you look at those 5 running backs, I think the RB1 of the week averaged 17.2 touches. And when you broke it down, it was so familiar by year. So from 2017, his first season there, he had Carlos Hyde and Matt Breida, who both played 16 games. And I think Hyde had 279 touches while Breida had like 164. And when you move on to 2018, I think they lost Hyde then. That's when Mostert came around, and then just kind of being injured. To full circle it up with this is that, again, you just got to remind yourself that he's only able to use which running back is active, and he has seemed to use the best running back that is active. When it's Mostert, it's Mostert. Now we're looking at Mitchell, Sermon, and Hasty. Mitchell proved himself last week. Hasty was inactive. Maybe that was to give him a little kick in the butt. Maybe that was a punishment. I don't know. We're speculating. So when it comes to Shanahan, bring it full circle. We're picking the best running back that's active. And right now it's Mitchell.
So just to give you an idea of how old I am, I have a yellow binder here that I use, yellow notepad that I like when I'm taking my notes. So I actually went through and I went through the game logs for I went back through 2018. I just looking for an instance where there was a healthy scratch who led backfield in carries the next week. Never happened. There were injury ones. There were ones where like, Matt Breida was injured and, inactive, or Mostert was injured and inactive, and then came back and got his job back after his injury.
It's different.
But there wasn't a situation where somebody was a healthy scratch and then came in and led the backfield. I think, look, as someone who drafted a bunch of Trey Sermon,
I did too,
over the offseason, I don't love the fact that he allowed an open door for Mitchell to go out there, put up the 19 and 100 plus and a touchdown, put what he did on tape.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder for him to go get the full workload back. Like he made his job a lot harder if he wants to get the lion's share of carries by not working himself into a place where he's active in week 1. That's not a good sign. I don't care how you want to spin it. It's not a good sign.
And like, would Sermon even be active this week if Mostert was healthy?
Dude, yes.
That's a question we'll never know. And I want to know that answer.
What another good one is what if Jeff Wilson hadn't got hurt? Who would even be on the team?
God. He's coming back like week 6, week 7, week 8. So that's going to be interesting to see about Elijah Mitchell. Like something to note is like, it's like, I think you alluded to earlier, it's Mitchell's job to like lose. Like if he's healthy, he's playing. If he's not playing well, sure, give Sermon Hasty some attempts, but like it's his job to lose. And it'll just be interesting to see how it folds up. Side note, something I really like about Elijah Mitchell's college coach is they commissioned someone to study Kyle Shanahan's offense because reports came out, I think last week or so, that the coaches believe that Mitchell was like their best running back specifically for the scheme, which then makes me question why they drafted Sermon in the 3rd and Elijah in the 6th. But I don't know. Mitchell's a great guy. I mean, the scheme is built around just like the natural gap formed by the offensive line. And then the back is just required the one cut, the agility and speed, not speed like the 40 time, but like speed score, burst to get through that hole. Speed's just a bonus for Mitchell.
I'm just nervous on Sermon. Look, we're talking about 20, 21, 22-year-olds. Things can change, especially in this area, but he hasn't done well with competition before. Like, I hope he gets better at that in life, just as a person. Like, that's going to be good for him. But, what we've seen with him handling competition in the past hasn't been good. So let's just see. Tyler adds in. Oh, go ahead.
No, I have one more thing. But also, like, it should be noted that Shanahan still will involve a second running back. Obviously, I mean, that's just naturally a thing. So like, don't be surprised if Hasty or Sermon are getting looks and then use that against Mitchell.
Absolutely. Tyler says, watch Michael Strahan today. That's an interesting call. Definitely somebody we'll be watching.
I mean, with Pittman or Campbell, Pittman, kind of being out. I mean, the dude looked good. He's a 24-year-old rookie out of Charleston. Like, I mean, he looked really good in practices and in training camp, especially with these wide receivers injured. Is Hilton's out, right? Yep. Hilton and Campbell are sidelined. Yeah. So, I mean, someone's got to step up, and I mean, might as well be that guy. Shout out Mike.
100%.
Stratching.
So on Good Morning NFL and NFL Network, they called it Strahan. I don't know if that was just
Michael Strahan and Mike Strahan.
Right.
Nice.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah, Tony had Hines in, so he appreciates
dude. Shout out
reassurance. That's good. Yeah, still of the week traded Tyson Williams and Elijah Mitchell for Austin Eckler. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, good.
Wow.
I like that.
Yeah,
nice job.
Go Saints.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good question here from Victor. Full PPR. Pick 2. Robbie Anderson, Visca, Marvin Jones Jr., Marquise Callaway, Jamal Williams, Javonte Williams, and he's saying Tyson, but he already knows the answer about Tyson. You got to pick 2. This is interesting.
Yeah. Jamal Williams, of course. I don't care if Swift's playing or not. We saw what's going to happen. Again, we talked about it. There's injuries for the Lions. We said Goff checked down, I think it was 60% of his targets to the running backs and tight ends in PPR. If he gets 5 receptions, 40 yards, that's 9 points. Any other carries are a bonus. I kind of want to say Callaway going up against Carolina, you're going to expect maybe to throw in more. I mean, obviously, I think we all know matching up week 1 against Jair Alexander is never a good thing. So a lot of people are probably down on Callaway for that reason. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon looks great. It's tough. I mean, I think, Denver, they want Williams to take over, but not Gordon doesn't want that to happen. So I'm going to go Marvin Jones Jr. and Jamal Williams.
Interesting. I'm going to go Jamal Williams and Javonte Williams. Now, he does add that he's got Swift starting, so that might make me a little bit nervous starting 2 running backs because it worked out well last week. I think I'd still go that way. And Javonte for me, just because like he did out-touch Gordon last week. Gordon had the big run, but going against Jacksonville this week, like I just think I can see them wanting to get the rookie in there, get him a lot of work, get him a lot of reps. We saw Mark Ingram have 25 carries last week.
Yeah,
going against Jacksonville.
But why did he? They had no. Like really, I'm genuine question. Why did he?
Well, because they were up. I mean,
exactly. They had to chew the clock. That's not going to happen every game for Jacksonville.
No, it might happen every game for Jacksonville.
No, yeah. For Houston though, like Mark Ingram's not going to see the touches that he had.
No.
Lindsey and David Johnson were the receiving work. Mark Ingram's going to get the rushing work. But with Javonte, with Ingram, if you just get the touchdown, it's worth it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the fact that Ingram got all those touches, I expect for Javonte maybe to have a lot of touches. Could he have 15, 18 touches today? That would be
Especially
awesome.
if they're up. That's a good point, man. I'm switching. Yeah, we're going Jamal Williams and Javonte.
Yeah, he's already starting Swift. I think just roll with it. Get those two guys in there. Who started flex? Miles Sanders or Robbie Anderson? Yeah, Miles.
Again, it's going to be different if we see with Robbie Anderson. Like if he's just going to be the deep threat for Darnold, kind of maybe like he was with the Jets because they had Crowder in the slot, and I pointed out he loved targeting the slot, and now we got Christian McCaffrey. Until Robbie Anderson is utilized like last year, again, I don't know if that was more Bridgewater. Now we got Darnold. But, I mean, with Miles Sanders, you're going to get 15 touches. You're hoping for a couple receptions. So if it's PPR, you're going to get that added bonus right there, too. So Miles Sanders confidently.
Yeah, I like what I saw from Miles Sanders, even though, Kenneth Gainwell looked good, too. But, we saw two running backs do pretty well against San Francisco last week. That could happen again.
Or Gainwell.
Yep.
Not too much going on there.
Tony, one more, please. Look, anytime, Tony. It's literally the reason for the show. So as many of these questions as you've got, send them in. One QB league, embarrassment of riches after week 1, Dak versus the Chargers or Brady versus the Falcons. This is a great question. I have this exact same dilemma.
Yes.
So I know what I chose. You tell me what you think.
I'm going Brady. I mean, it's the Falcons, right? You saw Hurts. I mean, if you take away Hurts rushing the 62 yards, he still was like 27 for 34, 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now it's Tom Brady. I mean, we're talking about the GOAT, arguably whoever you're talking to. I believe so. Anyways, dude, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin. I mean, and Gronk. Like, you got to go Brady against the defense. But like shootouts, that's cool. What happens with the shootout? Maybe you're risking more interceptions if you're throwing it. I don't know if there's data behind that. We'll have to talk to Cooper about that. But
yeah,
I'm going Brady. Is that what you say or no?
That's who I have in the lineup too. I will say I got a little bit nervous when Gronk came out talking about like, hey, let's go run the ball. I wondered if there was like, Gronk's the kind of person that if the plan was to run the ball more, Gronk would be the person to accidentally say it to the media. Like, no doubt. So it made me question a little bit, but look, Dak is amazing. His weapons are amazing. You're not going to go wrong there, obviously. I just think the way Brady looked, the way he played against Dallas, going against the Falcons, who, like you said, look what just happened with Jalen Hurts. Chargers have a better defense than the Falcons for sure.
No, I know, but the last 3 games Dak has started, he's thrown or completed in its entirety. It's been over 50 passing attempts.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, even if he does throw 2 interceptions, it's like, you're still like having, 4 touchdowns, 500 yards. And like he's alluding to, maybe an early blowout. So maybe they run it more, but like, I think if there's an early blowout, it probably means Brady threw a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Bob, the Bob father.
I love you, Bob. We're going AJ Green.
Yeah. It's just because I think he probably only had Kendrick Bourne. He's got Kendrick Bourne for 2 reasons. One, he's a Patriots fan. 2, I know he likes Peter Howard, who is a Kendrick Bourne.
I love Kendrick Bourne.
Do you really?
Dude, when he was with San Francisco, he was like from 2018 and 2019, he was second in total touchdowns for the team, 1 behind George Kittle.
Okay. All right.
I love it. Obviously, fantasy aspects probably not good. AJ Green saw 6 targets and he got like 4 of them or something. I mean, this is a tough one just because you're picking 2 wide receivers who probably shouldn't be starting. So I'm sorry your league's down to this, Bob.
Me too, Bob. That's pretty rough.
I love you, Bob. Dude, you're great.
No, AJ Green last year, 104 targets. He caught 47 of them.
Yeah,
not great.
But that's not his
6. I think this year. I think we're seeing it might be because 6 targets for 2 receptions in week 1.
I thought he had 4. Yeah, but like I guess it's hard to argue. Kyler Murray being bad. So,
and if you look at the target and reception percentage for Higgins and Boyd last year, it was way better than Green too. I wish they would just take him right now and just induct him in the Hall of Fame. Like, you just go ahead, like you just immediately go into Canton and you're done. And let's get some of these targets to Rondale Moore and to Christian Kirk. That's what I would like to see there. But
Who's going? Who are they playing? That dude, Bob, you had to throw this question at us. We had such a good groove, and all of a sudden now my brain did a 360. 360, that means it's going the same way. It did a 180, and now I don't know. Fine, let's go Kendrick Bourne. Shout out to Peter Howard.
Bob says Tyrod Taylor, Ben Roethlisberger, or Sam Darnold, pick 2.
Oh my God, who are they playing again? Tyrod Taylor. I mean, he looked good. Did he get any rushing? They're playing.
Tyrod.
I don't like that. Big Ben and Sam Darnold. He did get 4 for 40, but going up against Cleveland, Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, and their defensive tackles, I don't like that.
I think Sam Darnold's going to see some ghosts today against New Orleans. I'm going Ben and
we heard all those injuries. You know, take your bias aside. You got Christian McCaffrey, dude. You get 2 throwing touchdowns.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
24 for 35. Okay.
Yeah, Tony's leaning towards Dak because of the shootout, and he thinks Tampa Bay gets an early lead and runs the ball. That's very possible. I would not be surprised if the one that's the shootout is Tampa Bay Atlanta, because look what the receivers did against Tampa Bay last week, and now the name is
it was the Cowboys.
Who's the Tampa Bay guy that just got hurt? The cornerback got hurt last week.
Carlton
Davis. Him, but
Jamal Dean. Sean Murphy Bunting.
Yes, Sean Murphy Bunting.
I'm rolling through the Rolodex.
You got it, man. He's hurt. I think we could see a gigantic game from Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. I know that sounds crazy because everybody says, "Oh, how terrible they looked last week." And look, it's going to depend on how the O-line holds up, right? Because if JPP and Shaquille, if they're back in the backfield all game, fine. Like he's gonna. But Kyle Pitts got 8 targets. If he gets that again, he's going to be productive, I think.
Not only did he get that, he had 80%, according to PFF, 80% of his snaps were out of the slot or out wide. And in week 1, Tampa Bay went up against Cowboys. Obviously, they threw a lot, but Jarwin and Schultz, Blake Jarwin and what's his name? Schultz? Dalton Schultz. They got 10 total targets and 9 receptions. But obviously, they're not playing. They're probably playing more inline than Pitts, but like that still shows that Tampa Bay is a little weak to tight end. But I mean, it's just Ridley and Pitts, so it'll be probably easier to scheme that out.
I even sort of think that if you are in that, Russell Gage could make an interesting DFS play if you want to throw in somebody really cheap. Because look, he didn't get targeted last week, and you hate to see that. But I think this could be, speaking of shootout, like I think this could be a game where, look, Matt Ryan and Arthur Smith are both smart professional people that, like last week, they're not happy about it either. They want to go out and prove that they can do it. And I think I believe in their ability enough to say that I think they could. So we will see. We will see. But look, Tony, I don't think you can go wrong with Dak or Brady.
Either.
I think both of them are going to be good this week.
Start who you want. I mean, trust your process. I know we're here trying to answer start-sit questions, but like, I mean, trust your process. If you believe Dak's going to have the shootout, go ahead. I mean,
so he's got another one here. Keep them coming, dude. Another question: half PPR, Rojo or Connor?
Wait, who was it? Oh my God, someone tweeted out like the 3 games that Ronald Jones fumbled. Sorry, the 3 games following a Ronald Jones fumble, he had like 6 carries each game and like 20 yards. It wasn't good. Obviously, analytics is analytics. It's not always 100% correct, but like he's 3 for 3 so far on games after he fumbled, and he just did not have an impact. Do what you want with that. Connor, he had 15 or so rushes, James Conner, and he just, again, it's just a running back. You need a touchdown to be fantasy relevant. You could get 15 touches all day. You're getting 8 points. And obviously, unless they break a big game, but like Connor probably is not going to be breaking a 80-yarder.
Yeah, Minnesota gave up a lot on the ground to Joe Mixon and the Bengals last week.
Joe Mixon, dude.
I think we could. To me, that's James Conner is a good.
I'm going.
That's where I go.
It's tough. I mean, 16 for 53. I don't care about yards per carry as much, but that's 5.3 points. He only had 50% snaps. Edmonds didn't look too great, but again, no matter the play, you're just hoping for a touchdown. So
right.
Play matchup, I guess. Minnesota didn't look good against Joe Mixon, so Connor.
Bob says AJ Green's going to have 2 touchdowns today.
It's Scott Fishbowl. I did select AJ Green. Okay. Yeah, man.
Go for it, Bob.
He's smoking some meat, dude. It looks so good. I love Bob, dude.
Bob's awesome.
I know.
Bob's awesome. All right, so that's it. We're that takes us right into, we got 20 minutes, so everybody go take your time, get set up, get some food going, some drink, whatever you want to do. Enjoy your Sunday. Week 2, soak it in. We'll be right here when it's done to analyze everything that happened and tell you guys what we think is going to happen going forward, especially Corey with his predictions in the future. He's great at that, predicting the future.
I think I'll accept the compliment, and I won't have any self-deprecating humor. Thank you for having me on. Get better at it. I hope you feel better.
Your Twitter handle?
Corey Spala, my name right there. I didn't put the at.
Okay.
If you guys, I don't care. Don't follow me. It's all good.
Follow
Corey if you want. Do if you want.
Corey is one of the funniest people. You need to follow him. Follow him. He also helps run the DL football account, so make sure you're following that as well. Follow me. Enjoy your week 2. Have a lot of fun. Win all your matchups. Tell us about it. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what's going on. We look forward to the interaction. Thank you, guys.